that we have a Sanity.io account and a project, let's hydrate our content management system with some sample data. The easiest way to do this is to leverage a combination of a package manager like npm, yarn, or pnpm, and Sanity's command line tools. We'll be using pnpm for this video series, so we'll need to keep that in mind as we copy commands from the web. One more thing I just need to call out, guys, these next few steps require you to have pnpm working on your local machine. Check out the links in the description below for help on how to do that on either a Windows or a Mac computer. So first, we'll need to head over to the Sanity documentation and find the installation command. In our browser, let's head over to sanity.io. So from here, let's go to the Developers tab and click the Documentation link. Next, in the left rail here, we'll click Sanity Studio, then Setup and Deployment. Finally, we can click on the installation button and find our pnpm command. Let's go ahead and copy that and head back over to our IDE. One thing to note, guys, in this web series, we'll be using VS Code with several extensions to simplify and speed up development. A link to everything we use can be found in the description below. Here, I've opened a fresh VS Code window with a new terminal. And I've navigated to the place on my machine where I keep all of my web-related files, so it's just in my home directory in a subdirectory called Sites. Now let's paste our command and run through all the requirements. So I'll go ahead and paste that in and hit enter. The first thing we notice when trying to run is that we get a login request here. This is because we aren't authorized to build a new Sanity instance without first having a Sanity account. To solve this, we've created a Sanity account, so now we just need to prove that we have one. For this, we'll run the Sanity login command or just follow the prompts on the terminal. So I could either go here and just hit enter, or if I wanted to, I could just run Sanity login here and I'll get the same prompt. From this list, we'll choose the login type we used when creating our account. For us, that was email/password, so I'll choose that. Next, we can see here it's asking us, please open a browser at this, some long URL. For you, it'll be a little different because it's unique to every user. I'm going to go ahead and control click that. From here, we're taken back to the browser where we authenticate successfully without requiring us to do anything. The reason we didn't have to actually supply our email, login, and password here is because we're already logged in this browser. If we were to log out of our Sanity.io account in the browser and click the link afterwards, we'd be asked to log in with our email address and password. Okay, with that out of the way, let's head back to the IDE and try our command once again. There's our Sanity latest command. This time, we made it past the authentication and into the setup steps. Great work. From here, we can create a brand new project or choose the project we already created in the last video. We'll choose the latter. Now we're being asked whether we want to create a new data set or use our existing data set. Since this is just a demo for the purpose of this web series, we'll just keep the single production data set as our default. As your site grows, you'll eventually want to introduce more meaningful data sets to your operation. I'll just hit enter there. And next we have this project path, the project output path. And this looks fine to me. It's just going to put it right inside of my sites directory at nextgen-sanity-blog, which is perfect. Next, we're asked to select a project template. Now, this is where things start to get really interesting. Sanity is trying to give us a bit of a head start when it comes to starting our content management system. Normally, since we're creating a blog website in the end, we select blog here. However, for the purposes of this web series, we're going to use the movie project, mainly due to the sample data we get out of the box, which we'll be using to help explore and understand our Sanity data lake in future videos. Yes, we would like to use TypeScript, so we'll choose yes here. And here's the sample data I was referring to. We'll choose yes here as well, since we do want the sci-fi movies added to our data lake. And finally, it's asking which package manager we want to use for this project. And of course, based on what I said before, we'll be using pnpm. So let's select that. And that's it. Now all of the necessary dependencies and files will be downloaded and configured. That might take a minute, especially for the assets like files and images. All right, now that that's done, you should get the following success message, right? Success, now use these commands to continue. A couple of things to note here. First off, Sanity's output shows you exactly where on your machine your project has been installed to. So that's nice. For us, it's in this directory here. For you, it'll be a little different. They also give you the command you'll need to run in order to start your local Sanity server. For us, that's pnpm space dev. For those who are using npm, it may be npm run dev. If you're using a custom setup, it might be something different. And finally, they have several commands that come in handy as nifty shortcuts to some really helpful resources. I advise you copy these to a notepad somewhere. So now let's go ahead and copy our file path and open a new VS Code project for it. So I'm gonna double click that. And I'll just go code, paste that path in, and now I get a fresh VS Code project. From here, we'll run the pnpm dev command to start our local Sanity server. Normally, the local server is hosted on port 3333, so we'll visit http://localhost:3333 in our browser. Before we can access the CMS, we'll need to authenticate one final time. So let's do that. Go ahead and click on the login provider you chose for your authentication. We'll choose email/password. Okay. Now, you'll notice I logged directly into the system. If you're already logged in your browser, which I am, then after you click your authentication method like Google, GitHub, or email, you should be taken directly to your Sanity.io CMS backend. If you weren't already authenticated, then you'll just need to properly log in first. And that's it. We've officially created a local Sanity.io sandbox that's ready for us to play around with. If we click around, we can see that we already have 3 content types, right? Movie, person, and screening. We click into that, we can see that this has been hydrated with movie data. We click person, the same thing should be true there. We now have actual people in our Sanity CMS, and we have some screenings here as well. So it's really cool stuff. Everything we need to get started with understanding Sanity.